Hey everybody, welcome back to the Comic-Con Podcast. This is your boy Manimal. With me as always is my good friend Justin, aka Nemesis Prime. What's up, Justin?
What's going on, Zach? It's been another week of fun-filled comic book and movie stuff, some Star Wars stuff. So I'm excited for this week. We got a great guest on, somebody who's not part of the comic book community. So
right, man.
Yeah, we've known for years. So let's go. Let's get into it.
We got our good friend Peejay from Paradox, aka Paradox Nerd, who's been a good friend of mine in the community for a while. Big statue guy, but also a massive Star Wars fan. What's up, Peejay?
Hey, what's up, guys? What an honor to be on the show. I listen to you guys basically every week. My commute has shrunk down from 40 minutes an hour to 10 minutes, which is good because I save money on gas. But that 10 minutes, I make use of it by listening to you guys basically every week.
Hell yeah.
And
so 4 trips.
Great work. Yeah.
So it takes you about 4 or 5 trips to finish an episode.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But it's kind of fills the week, and it's great. You guys are doing awesome, and I love listening to you guys.
Cool. Hey, so PJ, let everyone know, kind of give everyone a little bit of background where they can find you, what your story is, what you do. Everyone who may not know who you are.
All right, cool. So I'm PJ, Paradox Nerd. I do have a YouTube channel. I kind of do a lot of reviews on like collectibles that I love to collect, like Star Wars. I do dabble in some X-Men stuff and some other Marvel stuff, but mostly Star Wars. I do have a podcast on the side, which is SithCast Podcast. It's a separate channel, and you can also check me out on the major podcast platforms like Google Play, I forgot, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, and all that good stuff. So I'm actually, even though I'm not part of like the comic book community, I'm actually starting to collect a lot of Star Wars comic books recently, thanks to you guys, because I really didn't know a lot about comic books, and by listening to you guys, kind of getting to know the community, what spec books are, like, slowly getting into the comic book collecting, and I appreciate what you guys have done for me in terms of the knowledge and information that you present at your podcast. So
it's always nice to hear a drug addict thank their drug dealer for getting them addicted to something. That's like what comic books is, It's like, hey man, try this heroin. Like, hey, thanks, bro. I'm like super into heroin now.
Yeah, and I think because I when you guys first started, I started listening to your like X-Men stuff, like your separate X-Men stuff, and then I think Justin did some spec, like Star Wars spec books, and I was like, what's a spec book? And then I like started listening to you guys more, and then you're like, first appearance of this, first appearance of that, and then I'm like, okay, and I looked into like this, like the first appearance of in Star Wars comic books, and I'm just like, oh yeah, cool, I have this, I have that. And oh my gosh, like first appearance of the Sith Inquisitors are like going up in value. Like, oh my gosh. And yeah, I'm addicted. So.
And you do YouTube stuff. Justin's been on a couple of your shows, right? The SithCast stuff.
Yeah. So I love Star Wars. Star Wars has always been my number one IP. I love, just talking anything and everything about Star Wars. So that's why I decided to make a podcast about it. Just kind of separate from like my other channel, which I do a lot of reviews on. But in the most part, yeah, like I love having Justin on. I would love to have you on, Manimal. So yeah, it just it's a good time to be a Star Wars fan. Also, sometimes like especially with some of the dramas going around, you're like, oh god, this is so draining too.
We're gonna get into some of that Obi-Wan drama for sure.
Oh my god, yeah,
definitely. And it's great because like there's obviously here on the Comic-Con podcast, we talk comic books, we talk movies, we talk TV, we dabble in some video game news, but like your podcast is just straight Star Wars. So for the people out there listening that want something different to listen to, if you want a really good just Star Wars, if you're a collectibles guy and you want to listen to nothing but Star Wars, definitely check out PJ's both his YouTube channels. I mean, he does some great reviews, unboxings of awesome collectibles, and again, just the SithCast Podcast. It's awesome. It's a great name too. That's a badass name.
Oh, thank you, man.
It took me a while to come up with.
It took me a while to come up with that name. I was like, The Force Awakens myself. I don't know. I was like coming up with like different crazy names, but I'm glad I came up with that. So
Yeah, so obviously we have PJ stuff in the description of this episode, so make sure you check him out. We'll be tagging him as well. So he's a great guy in the community. So PJ, like when did you start getting into all these collectibles? Like would you remember what your first big collectible was? Obviously no one can see you and they have tons of statues behind you. But
yeah.
what was your like first entry into like Star Wars collectibles?
Yeah, so it was I'll rewind back all the way to like one of the earlier New York Comic Cons, right? Like, and Justin, I was listening to your last episode. I know you guys were talking about like how the New York Comic Con first started and how it's changed so much. Uh yeah, so I was there in the first earlier New York Comic Cons, and I came across a Kotobukiya booth, and I saw like these like really cool like 1/7 scale Star Wars statues, right? And I was just like, cool. So I was like, I really like the detail, and compared to like some of the Funko Pops and the Hasbro stuff, which the details are not all that great, but they're cool to collect. I was like, let me buy one, and next, I started collecting Kotobukiya stuff, and then that was a gateway drug to
Right.
some of the bigger stuff because you're like you keep wanting more and better like detail,
Yep.
better paint job, just more presence in your collection. And then I started dabbling into some of the sideshow stuff, like I think Boba Fett premium format from Empire Strikes Back was my first Star Wars quarter scale statue. So, and then from there, I dabbled into some X-Men because I think I'm sorry guys if I come off as being like harsh on the sequels, but The Last Jedi came out and I was just like I went to a dark like cave and I just like secluded myself from all the Star Wars stuff because I was in a dark place because of that movie. And I started collecting some other like Marvel and X-Men. X-Men's my second favorite IP. So every time I listen to like Zach talk about some X-Men stuff, I'm like, yeah, like cool,
It's been a while
So-
since I've done any X-Men things. I need to do another Mutant Monday. Just get back into it.
So
what was your most recent, or what was your last like Star Wars statue you bought, or statue in general? What's the most recent thing you picked up?
The Ahsoka premium format. I think Justin has that one too. Yep. And that piece is absolutely stunning. I'm a big Rebels guy. I love Star Wars Rebels, and I think Sideshow did a really good job with that statue. So, that was my most recent Star Wars statue that I picked up. And just like Justin, I also picked up the Revan and Malik from XM. That's one of my favorites too. So, yeah.
Justin, have you seen Rebels? Have you watched Rebels?
Of course. What kind of question? I took that as like
he's like, still confused because he's like, yeah, probably like 9 times.
Yeah, I know. I was like really confused. I'm like, does Zach not know me? Do we not talk about this on a constant basis?
I don't think I've ever met anyone who loves Rebels more than Justin, to be honest with you.
PJ, for especially this is different from us because normally we have comic people on here, but like for statue collecting, what's your typical, how do you display stuff? Like what could you tell people if they want to kind of get into statue collecting? What are some beginner display cases or to maybe even intermediate display cases? Because I mean, obviously I could see behind you have a big thing, and even I need to upgrade some of my stuff because obviously where I'm at. So
yeah, I probably because you spend a ton of money on like these collectibles, right? And you kind of like don't want to spend that same amount of money on your display cases, even though they'll make it look better. But a good intermediate entry to the display cases for statues is IKEA. IKEA Bestas are probably the best. I think they're the best bang for your buck. They're like, I don't know, maybe $90 for one single or 2 units or something like that. Like a 2 shelf unit, and they look great. You could put some like LED strip lights to make it look good. Obviously, if you want to up your game from there, you could actually go do the Modu case route, which is super expensive, but at the same time, it looks great. The only thing I hate about the Modu cases is the fact that they take a really long time to get. Like you could pre-order it now, and it'll be about like a year and a half till you get it. So
That's so ironic that you're complaining about that. Your statue guy, that's like your normal basis for waiting for a statue. Like, oh no, I have to wait a year. Like,
I
that's
know.
pretty fast for a statue.
Actually, it's funny that you say that because I have a friend of mine that always tells me, he's like, you keep complaining about it, but like, every single month, and you could have gotten like a couple Maji cases from all that, complaining the past two, I complained for the past 2 years. So, I could have gotten like a couple Maji cases by now. So,
Hey, I'm on that. Believe me, I ordered a Maju case in August of last year,
mhm,
paid for it, and it says right now that I'm queued for quarter 2, which we're obviously in the second quarter of
mhm.
2022. So if I
Yeah.
don't get it by the end of June, that means hell. Now it's fallen into third quarter, and yeah, I spent a pretty penny on it because I know some of these statues are huge and they're going to fit at least 2 to 3 statues, and I got little, you know, kittens, cats running around this place. I don't want them to damage these things. They're
Oh yeah.
expensive. So yeah, I went out and bought myself a Maju case.
They're the
Yeah.
ones that are completely sealed, right? Like
Yep.
front,
Yeah.
back, side. So like a cube, right? Like it's
Yep.
completely
There's
sealed up in
different
the cube.
versions you can get. Yeah. So I got obviously the ones and they fit right. Don't they fit most quarter scale statues? That's the idea.
Yeah. They fit a lot of stuff in it. To be honest, like Maji case is the best like display cases you could get, like
Mhm.
because it comes with the lights, the LED lights, and your statues look great in it. So congrats, man. I'm jealous. I should have just suck it up and bought it and just wait.
Yeah, I didn't think I was gonna get it anytime soon. Like I pre-ordered it so long ago that I was hoping that I would have it in time for when the XM Revan came out and the Ahsoka
Mhm.
Rebels came out, but obviously didn't. And now obviously I'm getting into this custom statue, and people that follow me on Instagram, they've seen the Ahsoka one I have, the Sabine Wren I have. They're doing a Hera and Chopper for who I follow. And obviously, I'm sure you do. You have the sideshow Mandalorian Ahsoka on pre-order, right?
Oh
Premium
yeah, that.
format.
And I was gonna say, Justin, I saw that in Celebration. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Like they did
Yeah,
a
I saw your
great
video. It
job.
looked good.
Yeah. So
So yeah, let's that's a great segue. So, we brought PJ on here because obviously, most people on here typically or go to conventions, New York Comic Con, Terrificon, whatever it is across the United States at different comic conventions. What's Star Wars Celebration all about? Like, what's that like walking through? Now, I spent 4 days, real quick. I spent 4 days watching YouTube. So that was probably the most time I've ever watched YouTube on a consistent basis from like 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 9 o'clock at night. I was literally anything I was doing, I was watching Star Wars Celebration. So any interview that I could watch, any of the trailers, obviously the main stage, if they went to the panels, but like, what's it like being there, PJ?
so I've been to the past 3 celebration, including this one, and I have to say the first time I went to the celebration, it was very like underwhelming. Just
Hmm.
because yeah, it was weird because you go there, like I went to the one in Orlando, and it was just like a huge convention, and it was so spaced out, right? And everything was so spaced out. There wasn't a lot of vendors. There was a lot of stuff there, and basically you could kind of do the convention in probably like one day. Um, but I think because of the popularity of The Mandalorian, I think there's a lot more Star Wars fans out right now compared to the past couple celebrations. The last one was in Chicago in 2019, I believe, and that was around like the sequel era. Like Mandalorian didn't really come out yet.
Mhm.
People were still trying to like kind of get to know it a little bit. Um, but yeah, no, this past the most recent one, oh my gosh, it is overwhelming with the amount of not only content they were presenting at the convention, but the amount of like merchandise you could buy, the amount of panels, and all these different things you could do. I've been to San Diego Comic Con and New York Comic Con. Those are overwhelming because there's so many different IPs in like one building. With Star Wars celebrations, just one. You just strictly Star Wars. So
Mhm.
um, like the convention's a little bit more spread out compared to a New York Comic Con where, like you say, you got DC fans, Star Wars fans, Marvel fans, all in one building. Is kind of cramped up, and you're trying to like, you know, get
Yeah.
away from the crowd and try to like, look at collectibles, comic books, or artwork, whatever you guys, you want to do in a convention. So,
Mhm. And I was recently at Anaheim Convention Center in April for WonderCon. So like
Yeah.
when they did like wide
back on
shots,
that.
yeah, when they did like wide shots, I was just like, oh, cool. Like, it's like I know where this hall is because it's 3 big separate halls. So you could obviously you could tell like the main floor when they were having like the interviews. Obviously, that's one main floor. So I'm guessing like other halls is where all the booths are, where people
Yeah.
can buy stuff, and it's just Star Wars, right? Like every
Yeah.
booth is like littered with Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you got like Star Wars watches, you got someone selling socks, underwear, t-shirts, statues, and art prints, and but there's not really there's not a big comic book presence in this celebration, which I'm surprised
Really?
with. Yeah,
They don't
I was
highlight any of the new, like, especially now that, past like couple years with them being at Marvel and everything, there's not a lot of highlight of like the Marvel comics there.
there's the panels. So the panels, they have a lot of like, comic book panels, and some of the Del Rey stuff is there, some new announcements. But yeah, and like, in terms of like vendors selling like Star Wars comic books, there really isn't a lot, like, not a lot of CGC graded stuff, which,
Mhm.
I'm sure at some point like Star Wars will get to that point, because I've been seeing a lot of like key issues go up for a pretty penny, so
And
You
a lot of the
mentioned,
actors and actresses, they're out there like signing, right? They have their
oh
own
my
little
god.
booths.
Yeah, so there's a section where they do the autographs, and then the photo ops, and yeah, they have a a separate section for that. But it's kind of like, it's kind of spread out. It all depends on what you want to do. If you want to just do panels all day, you can. If you want to do just like check out the collectibles, or you want to just sit by the main stage and check out all the interviews live, you could do that. There's a lot of cosplayers, obviously. And one thing that they added this year, which I was blown away, is the Mandalorian experience. And with the Mandalorian experience, they put all this, like, the Mandalorian props that they used in the previous TV shows in one building. And let me tell you, I waited 2 hours to get in, and I was blown away. Like, seriously blown away with the amount of stuff that they had in there. They had like a Naboo starfighter that they used for um Mandalorian season. No, it was Mandalorian season 2. Oh, Mandalorian season 2.5, Book of Boba.
right?
Right? So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
had the actual starfighter in there, which was crazy. And they had like banthas, they had a rancor head, which they used on the Book of Boba set. So it is absolutely like mind-blowing. They had the Razor Crest cockpit in there as well. And it was so good that like John Favreau visited that exhibit like almost every day. I
Wow.
actually got to see him. He was like 3 feet away from me when I was like checking out the exhibit. So I got to meet I guess some of the stuntmen that played the Mandalorian in the show. So I took some pictures with them. The armor stopped by. But yeah, this year was a great convention, but I think it's because it's the first like major convention, um, besides, I guess, besides the New York Comic Con last fall, which was like basically like I don't know, it was like a small con. There wasn't a lot of people there. And then the San Diego Comic Con was at the two, like the small one that they had last
Yeah.
November. So this was the one of the like the major big ones. There was a lot of YouTubers there as well. So yeah, it
You
was great.
mentioned the Del Rey stuff. How big did they go? Did they have a big like High Republic presence? Did they try to push the books, like the High Republic in general? What was it like?
Yeah, so in the celebration store, they were pushing a lot of the newer books. I know they made some new High Republic announcements as well for the next phase. So they're really pushing hard on those books, and obviously, I think they're trying to follow up with that TV show Acolyte that's supposed to take place around the era. So kind of looking forward to those books and the show, to be honest. So
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
definitely. So Last week we spoke on a lot of stuff that was dropping on Thursday because we recorded it on Thursday. So of course, we had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday news from Star Wars Celebration. So let's kind of get into some of the stuff that obviously we didn't talk about. That obviously all three of us, we enjoy Star Wars and kind of our thoughts. So our first topic is of course the Tales of the Jedi. Everyone, they teased this because there was a leak that people were given a LucasArts present at Christmas time, and it had Indiana Jones logo on it. It had Tales of the Jedi on it and some other stuff. So people were immediately going to the Dark Horse Tales of the Jedi series because they were just like, oh, well, that's what they're going. Now, some people thought they were doing that. Some people were like, there's no way that they're doing all this Dark Horse stuff and bringing in all these older characters. So from what we got from last week's news was they're doing short stories. Right now it's solicited as an 8-episode animated shorts. Dave Filoni's involved in it. And right now, all we have confirmed is they're doing a Ahsoka, a Count Dooku, and we're also going to see Qui-Gon come back as well. So, PJ, what are your thoughts on this? Finally getting to see some stuff back, especially younger and maybe before Count Dooku becomes Mr. Darth Tyrannus.
Yeah, and I'm actually really excited that they're doing a show like this because you kind of want to know like how it was before Sidious popped on, showed up, and to see kind of like Count Dooku as a young Jedi, and hopefully we kind of get to see him like slowly turn into the dark side, or maybe get like disgusted with some of the Jedi ways. And well, also Qui-Gon. One thing with Qui-Gon too is that he never really believed in a lot of the thinking that the Jedi had, right? Like he didn't like the fact that you can't love, or you can't be connected to somebody, or so he was kind of around the same boat as Dooku, but obviously he still stuck around with the Jedi. And one thing about Qui-Gon is that he was never, I don't think he was part of the council, even though he was a Jedi master. So but yeah, just to see some of that stuff, a young Ahsoka, I'm really excited for. And they're short stories, so I'm guessing they're about 30 minutes long, and Dave Filoni is involved in that project. Yeah, I'm really excited to see that. So
awesome. And Zach, you had a little bit of an article for this topic. So
yeah, I mean,
kind of
just also along the lines of the Count Dooku stuff. Like I agree with what PJ says. I'm excited because you watch. Okay, so you don't watch Clone Wars, the cartoon, right? Let's say you just are a movie person, and a lot of people really are. A lot of people don't really watch the animated, or not a lot, but there are a group of people who only kind of watch the theatrical stuff. And you definitely get more Dooku in Clone Wars, of course. But like as you're watching the movies, Dooku shows up and he's touted as like this big, great Jedi. He's, the tutelage of Yoda. He had Qui-Gon as an apprentice, but it's the first time you hear about him, and damn, dude's bad already, so it's always kind of like, well, how'd this shit go? Like, I'm really intrigued as well. Like, I want to know, like, what broke him bad? What broke him, actually? Like, what did Sidious do to kind of bring him to the side? How did he fill that gap after Maul was gone? How did then Sidious switch to Dooku? Was he already switching to Dooku? Like, that kind of shit. I mean, I would love to see all that kind of play out. The fall of Dooku would be very, very interesting. Or even just to see him as a good Jedi, as a Jedi, like PJ said, like, was he falling out of favor with the Jedi? Was he kind of like not trusting their decisions? Were they, whatever. So I'm super excited. And you know what? Like I think of this Tales of the Jedi. I think it's going to be a lot like the What If show. You know what I mean? Like 30-minute episodes. Maybe they'll have an overarching like theme throughout where it will somewhat connect. Maybe it won't. It doesn't really have to, but when we went into What If, not to like go on a tangent on the MCU, but when we went into What If, everyone was kind of like, what's this going to be like? These might just be kind of like throwaway episodes, but it turned out to be surprisingly good. So, you can focus on these characters and do little 30-minute episodes. I think it's great. Ahsoka, like I like Ahsoka. I know you guys are big Ahsoka fans, but we've seen a lot of Ahsoka. She's not necessarily a character that I want to fill the gaps with. We saw her as she started. We saw her when she fell. We saw her when she left Jedi and went, Rebels. I would like to see characters more like Count Dooku, where you can fill in these gaps of what happened to him, and even bounce around, like maybe move on to like what was Poe Dameron up to in the middle, or different stuff like that. Like that's what I kind of like to see.
Yeah, I guess that could be like a season 2, but so obviously, like, we talked about where you're getting a younger Dooku, so you're going to see him in the Jedi Order. You're going to see Qui-Gon. You're going to see Ahsoka as a child pre the Attack of the Clones movie or Clone Wars movie. And then you're also going to see Mace Windu as a younger character as well.
That's a good
Like,
one,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I
think we're
forgot
supposed to
about
see
that.
her. I think we're supposed to see him. I don't know if it's a Padawan or if it's just going to be more earlier in his
Awesome.
career.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But then there's still 5 other episodes because there's 8 episodes. So, maybe it'll explore on other characters that we don't know. Like maybe you're
Right.
going to get maybe you're going to get a younger Yoda, which would be cool too because we only know Yoda from obviously the original trilogy, the prequels, all the cartoons, and if you're reading like obviously the novels for the High Republic,
You're
but we
getting him in the
really
High
don't
Republic.
know even where that's going to fall. But there's so many other Jedi in the universe that they could really expand on that people love.
Okay, I got
Especially
one for you.
Filoni could definitely take a lot of these characters and bring them front and center.
How about the fall of Palpatine? How about like with him showing him becoming a Sith? That would be a fucking badass episode.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And actually, that's a great point about Ahsoka. Because if you guys remember, like the first Rebels movie, Ahsoka was annoying as hell.
Oh gosh, she's the worst, dude.
Oh my god, dude! Like
Snips,
I'm a
I'm
Star
like,
Wars
oh,
fan,
God.
and I barely got through that movie. I
It
was
was
like,
rough.
oh my gosh, that was rough.
Yeah.
With Zero the Hutt, I was like, oh.
Yeah, a lot of hate on that. There's a lot of hate for her. Ashley's always said it that she, they didn't know how it was going to fare, especially like a new character. But she just kind of changed, like midway through season 1 of Clone Wars and into season 2. She just kind of had a calling, and I think it's also all thanks to Anakin too.
Right.
Yeah.
Because of the way Anakin was, and because even at that time, like we only knew Anakin from the movies, and at that time there was a lot of hate for Hayden Christensen. So you're just gonna bring in some apprentice to make us feel better because of who he was,
Right.
Yeah.